Hello and welcome to our continuing coverage here from the G20 Summit in New Delhi. I'm Shereen Bhan. The summit is underway. Session 1 has started just a short while ago. The heads of state are here at the Bharat Mandapam. The meeting has begun. Joining us now to take us through the implications of the G20 Summit, the possibility of a joint communique being issued at the end of the negotiations, and as we just heard from Harshvardhan Shringla, the G20 coordinator here on CNBC-TV18, he said nothing's over till it's over. Negotiations still underway. The summit has only just begun. So the hope and the expectation continues that there will be consensus on that crucial issue of Russia and Ukraine. Joining us on the program today, right here with me at the G20 Summit, is the diplomatic editor of The Hindu, Suhasini Haidar. Suhasini, many thanks for joining us. It's great to have you back. Also with us, Ambassador Meera Shankar, Sangeeta Reddy, and Arunabha Ghosh, and of course my colleague Parikshit Luthra as well. Thank you very much for joining us here on the CNBC-TV18 special. Suhasini, first to you, as we heard there from Harshvardhan Shringla, negotiations still on, so it is down to the wire. What's the expectation?
Well, certainly the expectation now has shifted responsibility, if you like, onto the Prime Minister's shoulders. And it is for the leaders now to sit together and try to go over the last hump before they can they can issue a New Delhi declaration. Remember, every G20 summit so far has always had a declaration. Even if it goes down to the wire, with Indonesia, it was down to the last few hours. So India doesn't want to be the first not to have a declaration. It is, again, over Ukraine that things are log-jammed. What we understand is by yesterday, Sherpas who moved from their venue to the main venue now had essentially agreed to the non-geopolitical issues, those paragraphs. So climate change, debt financing, restructuring, multilateral development banks, all of those important issues that India has been speaking about are now more or less through. The language is being wrapped up, if you like. But on Ukraine, they remain entrenched. And the hope is that Prime Minister Modi will now be able to take his diplomacy, where he said in a speech just now that India stands poised at bringing East and West together, global North and South together. Well, this is where India will have to prove that.
Oh, absolutely. But as you pointed out, on several of the other important issues, there seems to be a path forward and consensus has emerged. But let's talk about some of the important bilaterals, Suhasini, because yesterday we saw President Biden and Prime Minister Modi pick up where they left off in D.C. The significance of the meeting that took place yesterday, as well as the joint statement at the end of it.
Well, I think it's clear in this summit that Prime Minister Modi has picked out two particular relationships for special attention, the U.S. relationship, and President Biden was given a dinner and a meeting at the Prime Minister's house just before the summit, and it'll be the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, who will be given a state visit at the end of the summit. Bookending these two is the fact that India is working now with the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and the UAE for a big infrastructure project across West Asia.
Do you expect that announcement to come in at the end of this?
According to U.S. officials, they're not sure it'll happen during the summit. It could happen after, between India and Saudi Arabia. The other big bilaterals we're looking at is about the free trade agreements. And remember, there's Australian Prime Minister who's hoping for a conclusion of the final FTA. There's the British Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. He's meeting Prime Minister Modi this afternoon. And there is, of course, the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, although we understand that there is no bilateral set with him just yet. Canada has itself actually asked for a pause on FTA talks because they feel they're going nowhere, possibly due to the political issues between the two countries at present. Those bilaterals will be interesting to watch if there is an announcement out of them. In all, Prime Minister Modi is having 15 bilaterals out of the 29 leaders who are there. And of course, the absence of Russia and China will mean we'll hear much more perhaps from the Western Bloc.
Absolutely. And we are given to understand, as per White House officials, that the Prime Minister did express his disappointment over the absence of both Xi Jinping as well as Vladimir Putin. But Suhasini, before I let you go, the next big one is the Quad, which of course India is going to be hosting as well. And there's a lot of chatter on what that could possibly mean in terms of invitees for Republic Day. What are you hearing?
Correct. We have heard that India is hoping, and India has proposed, that all the leaders of the Quad, US, Australia and Japan, are in Delhi for Republic Day. The problem there is that there's the Japanese Diet, or the Parliament, in session. There's the US Congress possibly in session. And it is January 26th is is Australia's National Day as well. It's Australia Day. So it might be a little difficult, but with a little bit of maneuvering, that's what the Indian side is hoping. What we've heard from the officials so far is that sometime in 2024, probably the first quarter of 2024, India will host the Quad Summit.
Okay, Suhasini Haidar, many thanks. We'll talk about the Quad in some time from now. But of course, all eyes now on the G20 meeting that is currently underway. Appreciate you joining us. We'll come back to you shortly.